Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Professor Ming's Strategic Insights. In last two programs, we called attention to one thing. China is not just another country. It's a country very different from the rest of the world. There are several reasons to it. First, it is ruled by a Communist Party. And second, this party has a very different worldview or different concept of history. And we're going to elaborate on this today. After the conclusion of World War II, a civil war broke up in China. The Chinese Communist Party launched a military rebellion against the nationalist government or the Nationalist Party, so-called the KMT. The civil war lasted for 3 years, and eventually the Communist Party defeated the Nationalist Party and won over entire China. And the KMT and the nationalist government fled to Taiwan and stayed there until today. During the 3 years of civil war, the Communist Party won almost all the major military campaigns. So they're very happy about it, and actually they're so proud about it. They bragged about it over and over. They put it into history, they put it into textbooks, they put it in the TV shows and movies, and over for more than 70 years, even until today. So people get the attention. They pay much attention to military, to their army. That's true. But that's not the entire picture. In fact, after 1949, ever since the establishment of the People's Republic of China, Chairman Mao Zedong more than once bragged about his success, saying that the reason that he could defeat the Nationalist Party or the nationalist government due to 3 secret weapons he used, which are party building, united front, and military struggle. And notice that he put party building as number 1. So that brings us to the core question. Why is the Communist Party so different? Why is it so different from the rest of the world and other political parties? To put it simply, it has theory of revolution, and it knows how to train its party members. That's why the Communist Party all over the world are so effective and so successful in seizing power and defeating their enemies. In order to explain why the Communist Party is so good and so effective in bringing about a revolution, to explain how important this theory of revolution is, we have to go back to this diagram. Remember this diagram? Marx once argued that human society developed through stages. When Marx talked about we're in the middle or toward the end of capitalism, and in order to transform into so-called socialism or capitalism, we have to go through a world proletarian revolution, a short stage of world proletarian revolution. Marx brought about this concept around the year of 1848. After 50 years, Marx's prediction did not come true. It was after 50 years when Lenin came around that this theory has real meaning. Lenin argued, in order to bring about this world proletarian revolution or to promote revolution, we need to guide it with theory. So Lenin wrote numerous pamphlets, articles, essays to construct his theory of revolution. Just to name a few. What's to be done? 1 step forward, 2 steps back. 2 tactics. The 3 sources and 3 component parts of Marxism. Imperialism, the highest stage of capitalism. State and revolution. In these works, among other works, Lenin spelled out the essential factors to bring about an effective revolution. He argued that we need a new type of revolutionary party consisting of no one but professional revolutionaries. He also spells out questions like the tactics of revolution, the methods used, the steps to take, and the target of revolution. In short, he theorized revolution. Or put it other way, he literally constructed a field of revolution. He wrote a manual for the later revolutionaries. But abstract theories alone do not make good revolutionaries. They have to know how to fight, how to fight their enemy, their political enemies. They have to know how to struggle against your political enemies, how to smear them, how to divide and conquer, and eventually how to eliminate them, either in terms of personality or in terms of physical life. So for Lenin, if you want to have a successful revolution, you must first have a new type of revolutionary party filled with no one else but professional revolutionaries. So next question naturally is, how do we train these new type of professional revolutionaries? Or put it differently, how do we go about this indoctrination? How do we get these people be attached to us and follow our order and achieve our goals? So during Lenin's time, they were asked first to read books, so-called to study the theory of revolution. So Lenin asked the Bolshevik to read works by Marx, Engels, and of course, his own works. During Stalin's time, Stalin's works were added to the list. For China, Mao Zedong's work were added to the list. After Mao Zedong, Deng Xiaoping, Jiang Zemin, Hu Jintao followed suit. For today, Xi Jinping's work are added to the list, imaginably. But abstract theories alone do not make good revolutionaries. They have to know how to fight their enemy, their political enemies. They have to know how to struggle against your political enemies, how to smear them, how to divide and conquer, and eventually how to eliminate them, either in terms of personality or in terms of physical life. And after that, after the seizure of the power, the question confronting them was the consolidation of power. Lenin began it, but Stalin inherited and improved upon it. Lenin created an atmosphere of horror all over the country by massive slaughter, purge, forced labor, and concentration camp. That's for the average people. For the high-ranking cadres or the peer of his time, Stalin purged them, put them on public trial, asked them to humiliate themselves in public, and eventually perhaps kick them out of the party. And all these were documented and written in one book, which is called History of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, Bolshevik, short course. Later, this book was introduced to China, and the Chinese Communist Party translated into Chinese and turned it into a textbook for the indoctrination of Chinese communists. But there's more to it. You know that China has a long history, more than 2,000 years, 3,000 years. But you may not know that China also has a very long history of peasant rebellion or peasant revolution. And Mao is very much familiar with it. It was Mao Zedong himself who combined this Bolshevik history together with this Chinese history of peasant revolution into the so-called Chinese Communist Party's of theory of revolution. So by now, I think it has become clear to you that how the Chinese Communist Party has formed their own theory of revolution. But one thing you may not realize it, they're still using it today. Internally, they use the theory of revolution or theory of power toward people in Xinjiang, Tibet, Mongol, Hong Kong, or the students in the Tiananmen Square in 1989. And externally, they use it against so-called capitalist states, imperialist states, with the United States as its leading figure. Yes, this Communist Party's version of theory of revolution could be effective to some people. It could help them to seize power, to consolidate power, but it has one major problem. It runs against human nature. In short, human nature will rise up and challenge it, try to overthrow it over and over until human nature prevails. That's why we political scientists always say, all tyrannies perish. So today we explain to you why the Communist Party is so different from the rest of the world and why the communists are so different from the rest of the people from a very different angle, so that I hope you get a better picture of the issue. In the future, we're going to talk about how we should deal with them. And this is what I'm going to share with you today. I hope you like it. I'll see you next time.